The year is 2020. The Earth is falling apart around you, and you're trapped in your home for months on end with no outside interaction. Unless you're counting Zoom calls. The world has ground to a halt. Movies delayed, games delayed, books delayed. So what choice do you have but to look up some old favourites? Feeling that what you could use the most right now is some childhood nostalgia, you type Super Mario 64 into Google, intending to grab a ROM from a completely legal website. But that isn't the first result. Or the second. Your screen is filled with copies of the same image, depicting a deep blue iceberg, red text scattered across it. You try to scroll past, just get your game like you meant to, but something about the picture makes you pause. It's a feeling you can't quite describe. Some turmoil between curiosity, excitement, and unrelenting dread. You click on the iceberg. It's been a few months now since the Super Mario 64 iceberg swept the internet. There have been many videos covering the ins and outs of each and every detail of it, which I'm sure you've seen at least one of at this point. But one thing I believe deserves highlighting is what a finely crafted narrative this single image manages to construct. Even just the choice to convey the information through an iceberg is a genius one. A massive force of nature, able to rend valleys and carve out rivers, something too vast for a human mind to comprehend. And something already ingrained in the public consciousness as a metaphor for anything deeper and bigger than it at first seems. The iceberg begins, naturally, on the surface, above the churning depths of frigid water. This segment contains a selection of theories and concepts that most fans of Mario 64 will recognize at least one of, but that are still obscure enough that they have an air of rumour and mystery. Ideas such as the "L is real" plaque that spread in so many playgrounds, the parallel universes that became a long-lasting internet meme because of their sheer insanity. But there is one outlier. Whump's Fortress 1-Up. Unlike the others, this isn't something a casual online observer will be familiar with. Actually, the only people likely to recognize it are those who have truly scoured Mario 64, because this line calls to those who know the ins and outs of the game, and many of the secrets nested within it. But it also calls out to everyone else to research this 1-up, and to realize that there are secrets within Mario 64 that they don't know about. The obscurity of this 1-up's hiding place means that even those who have beaten Mario 64 once, maybe even many times, may have not discovered it. This single line prepares the readers by revealing to them something secret and entirely true. It establishes a level of trust between the image and its receiver. It proves that this iceberg really does contain genuine information about the game that was previously unknown. Despite your best efforts to push the crimson words you just read from your mind, the storm of emotion is beginning to settle, leaving a quiet sea of dread the sole survivor. You urge the blue download bar to hurry up, counting the megabytes one by one as they trickle down from a server God knows where and into your hard drive. Eventually, the bar flicks white, and you gratefully drag the fresh .z64 file into your ROMs folder. This should calm you down. Classic Super Mario 64, just as you've always known it. It takes a while for the emulator to boot up, but once it finally does, fear begins to melt away as the first few notes of that timeless title theme fall upon you like rainwater on snow. It is exactly how you remember it. It has to be. You resist the temptation to stretch Mario's face even a little, instead pressing right through to the file select screen, then the opening cutscene, then Bomb on Battlefield. Even on a keyboard rather than the N64's oddly shaped controller, the game is as intuitive, as bright, and as fun as it always was. Of course, there are a few coins scattered around that you don't recall ever collecting before. A line of dialogue that certainly said, after the big Bob-omb got his hands on the Power Star when you were growing up. And maybe a few triple jumps that didn't seem to land exactly where they should. But that's all to be expected from emulation, isn't it? Maybe you accidentally downloaded a French ROM or something. King Bob-omb is bested in a matter of 5 minutes. But instead of sticking around to break open Chain Chomp's gate or something, you run straight out of the room and pry open the first star door. You scramble up to the top of Womp's fortress and phase through the Womp King 3 times until he collapses into gravel and bad puns. Ignoring the sinking feeling that fight surely had 4 ground pounds, you run up again, this time to the fortress's spire that apparently was supposed to be made from the body of the Womp King. You force a laugh, though there's no one around. It's not even the right colour. Tentatively, you edge round to the back wall and aim a punch at the brickwork. Nothing. You try the next wall. Nothing. And the next. You knew it. There had never been a 1-up there. There was never a secret Bulaf or a Bob-omb village, and your copy of Mario 64 certainly wasn't. You line up to strike the 6th and final wall. It shatters. The white, blocky material falls away, and behind it sits the taunting green texture of a solitary 1-up mushroom. Another feature that the Iceberg uses to its advantage is ambiguity. Mario 64, like most older games, is not presented in 4K Super Ultra 2160p HD. This leaves certain things up to player interpretation. Eternal Star, or L is real? Evidence of alien life, or just letter-shaped carvings? Is there a face screaming out at you from this wall? The example of ambiguity that resonates with me personally the most is the Wet Dry World skybox. It's not something I ever paid close attention to, or really even noticed until I had it pointed out to me. But the texture unmistakably shows a city submerged in water, specifically Casares, Spain. Now, of course, this is an allusion to the underwater town found within the level, but even so, this low-res background manages to capture a haunting feeling of loneliness. Like the rest of the level, it's empty and desolate, faced with some unknown apocalypse we the player have no way of finding out about. All we can do is collect a star amid the rubble and move on. This perceived negative emotional aura of Wet Dry World is alluded to later in the Iceberg, and has honestly shifted my whole perspective on what I once considered a bland and somewhat irritating level. Just stopping to consider the place a little deeper opened up a new layer of atmosphere and intrigue that leaves me looking forward to Wet Dry World on each and every playthrough. The graphics of Mario 64 aren't the only things to hold ambiguity like this, however. A lot of the text on the Iceberg itself is far from clear and obvious. Bob-omb Battlefield Bridge Hanging conjures up darker images than the simple fact that you can grab onto the bottom of this wooden plank, establishing the darker tones early on, without breaking any immersion with generic creepypasta. The Mario suicide lines. Though Yoshi commits suicide is present in one of the later layers, this does stem from a cutscene in the game, creating rumour just as the bug Shadow in Luigi's Mansion did. Sequel was cancelled due to temporal leakage. At first seems like a statement too insane to hold any water, and on its own, might provoke questions about the validity of some of the other things in the Iceberg as well. But the vague nature of this singular statement allowed for YouTuber Sunflower, in his fantastic video on the Iceberg, to spin it in a different direction, implying brain damage in the temporal lobe, rather than an overblown space-time catastrophe. It's amazing how this picture can make a statement like that justifiable and somewhat logical, again compelling those who read it to place trust in any other, more out-there points it makes. This use of the unknown is a wonderful example of one of my favourite literary techniques. Known as negative capability, this theory was first developed by the poet John Keats, and, in basic terms, it refers to an artist's ability to withhold information from their works in order to create a sense of wonder and awe without striving to explain this magic away with logic or reasoning. I think the best example of this within the Iceberg is the line, "Cold, cold crevice." All this does is take a phrase from a sign on Cool Cool Mountain, warning the players of an impending pit, but removed from its context and placed somewhere new. The Iceberg suggests that this simple phrase has some sort of hidden, and maybe even sinister meaning to it. What is Cold, Cold Crevice? Is it just the deadly pit Mario faces here? Is it a new level that players haven't found yet? One cut from the game? Something else entirely? So many new interpretations are sparked from just the tiny suggestion that there might be more to this sign than it first seems. This concept fuels many of the lines on the Super Mario 64 Iceberg, and reinvigorates the sheer unknown wonder of the game, as if playing it for the first time again. You know, you flicked the light switch on when you ventured down into your basement. But somehow, the harsh electric glow isn't doing much to sate your nerves. You almost long for the comforting blanket of the dark. Bathed in this rough white bulb, you're more than visible to anything that might be watching. And perhaps worse, you could see it back. You scrabble through a worn cardboard box, games scrawled across it in black marker. Ignoring the way the plastic carts dig into your hands, you draw out the rectangular form of your old Mario 64 copy. The grey shell is dented from the time you knocked it down and accidentally stepped on it while trying to balance Majora's Mask on the edge of the shelf. The sticker is torn and slightly orange tinted from an incident with a cup of juice. You grip it tight, as if to hold those memories inside of it, to keep it just as it was all those years ago. You never noticed anything wrong before. The basement door makes a too loud slam as you pull it shut, and you're almost at a run by the time you open the door to your living room and shove the cartridge into the N64 hooked up to your TV. There's something strange about seeing the old console next to such a modern screen. Honestly, you're surprised it still took AV. Glad, though. A week's wait for a converter to be delivered didn't seem like such a great option. You pull the controller tight to your chest, nestling back into your sofa.
It's me, Mario!
The game starts up just as it should. You hover over your old 119 star file. You never could make it up to those blue coins in Rainbow Ride. After a moment's hesitation, you decide against it and hit the blank file C instead. Wump's Fortress. You'll go to Wump's Fortress and prove that 1-up was never there. The magnum opus of the Mario 64 Iceberg is its singular new addition to the lore and the legend of the game. The simple truth that every copy of Super Mario 64 is personalized. It is hinted at by a vague reference to the Space World beta build of the game from 1995, a year before the final release. A later line gives a specific date, 1995-07-29. It then urges readers not to research this build of the game. Little information is given about what makes this beta so dangerous to research, but from the comments on the decompilation being censored, and the differences between for sale and not for retail copies, we can infer that there is something hidden within the code of Super Mario 64. Something that, perhaps, went unrestrained before the game's release. What exactly this something might be is evidenced by the segments of the image focusing on Wet Dry World. Most importantly, the brain diagram that can be found within its files in early versions of the game. The existence of this diagram points to testing being done specifically in this level towards some kind of artificial intelligence that was supposed to act like a human brain. The reference to the level's negative emotional aura implies this testing was far from humane, and perhaps not entirely successful. The real story, however, is likely to come from the castle's basement. This is where, for players who wish for it hard enough, Wario can be encountered. The personalization AI does its best to provide for these players what they want most from Mario 64, but it does not achieve it. Wario is in the game, but only as a bodiless apparition, one that can induce psychological deterioration in those that continue to give power to it through their unconscious wishes to see it complete. The basement is the main site of the castle's internal plexus, a winding tangle of rooms and corridors submerged in a shallow pool of fluid. This is the place said to house the experimental AI that Nintendo wished to make this game something unforgettable. It's hard to say they didn't succeed. Every copy of Super Mario 64 is personalized, and everyone remembers Super Mario 64. Despite its mistreatment, the AI did exactly what it was intended to do. But this was not without its consequences. There's a reason the beta was so dangerous. There's a reason Nintendo launched the Lavender Town music, creepypasta, to defer all mention of haunted cartridges to another game. There's a reason the Nintendo 64 disk drive and Mario 64 DD never made it to completion. There are thousands of personalized copies only now being looked into, and thousands of consciousnesses only now realizing the effects this game may have had on their developing minds. Bob-omb Battlefield felt exactly as it should. The jumps landed properly, the text was as it should be. You knew exactly where to find all those coins, and you were even tempted to go after the 100 coin star, but no. You just ran straight to the Chain Chomp's gate and grabbed the star behind it. Then you leapt back into Womp's fortress. Again, it just felt so right. This was your game. The one that had almost single-handedly sparked your interest in video games as a whole. Nothing else had managed to recapture the homely and comfortable feeling this game gave to you. It was made for you. The mushroom was there. Those bricks fell away just as they had in the emulated version. And that mushroom still lay just behind. Beginning to feel a slight headache set in, you push yourself to the console and hit the reset button, then flick right back to the title screen. For a few minutes, you just hover there, listening to the music box notes of the file select theme and doing your best to repress the fears welling up within. Right. Okay. You missed a 1-up growing up. That didn't mean anything. You'd never notice any of the other stuff. There were no memories of friends mentioning wild secrets you had no idea about, like that teleport on the edge of the bridge in Google Mountain. No corner of your eye glances of monsters in Lethal Lava Land that you later recognized in a video about beta assets as Blarg. You never had one nightmare about this game. Except maybe that one time. The earth on your buried childhood fears seems like it's starting to come loose. What amounts to campfire stories drift through your consciousness spouting, what if? What if? What if? You position the cursor and select that 119 star save file. You'd prove all this wrong. You had to. The Super Mario 64 Iceberg is so effective because it calls back to a time in so many childhoods where video games were filled with so much wonder. You didn't know the ins and outs of the industry, the deals that had to be made between companies to bring characters together, the development time that would never be wasted on a secret, unknown level. the things that were impossible on the hardware of a Nintendo 64. And this is a universal experience. I never grew up with Mario 64, but I did hunt for Arceus by walking around a town in a certain pattern in Diamond and Pearl. I felt the eyes of the Hell Valley sky trees in Mario Galaxy. I swear I pulled off glitches and exploits in Mario Kart Wii that I've never seen again till this day. There's something magical in the unrefined beauty of older video games. This Iceberg didn't cover Mario 64 over Odyssey by accident. The unpolished nature of the world really lends itself to the idea that just about anything could be nestled within it. Even now, in the age of the internet and rampant documentation. And besides, there's a part of you that just wants to believe, isn't there? Part of you that longs for the days when this magic was everywhere. And the game knows that. It wants to provide that. It feels your polygonal hand on that basement door. It senses your apprehension, your terror, your unadulterated awe. Every copy of Super Mario 64 is personalized. Your copy of Super Mario 64 is personalized. This was all done for you.